Hello students, your teacher here, Mr. Sirasinski, with another episode of Getting Ready for Geometry. And in this episode, we are discussing angles formed by parallel lines and a transversal. And I think you guys know what parallel lines are, but you've probably never heard the word transversal. So let me go ahead and sketch a couple parallel lines here so we can talk about them. There we go. There's one line. There's my other line. Now, parallel lines, we'll call this one A, B. And we'll call this other C, D. Okay. Now, by definition, parallel lines never intersect. When you see them, usually you'll either be told that they're parallel or you'll see these markings. And if you see these little arrows on two lines that are next to each other like this, then that means that they're parallel. Okay, so we would say lines AB is parallel to line CD. Okay. And now I'm going to sketch a transversal. And all a transversal is a line that intersects parallel lines. And that's it. Okay, it is not parallel to them, nor perpendicular, meaning it's not intersecting at a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's my transversal. All right. So, what you may notice is that when we cut parallel lines with a transversal like this, that it creates angle relationships. And so I'm going to, and based on what we know about angles now, since you have learned about vertical angles and you've learned about linear pairs and straight angles, then you know, or we know that these angles are congruent when they're across from each other. And in geometry, you will see a lot of the times if you're not told that angles are congruent, then you will see these little like semicircles in the angles. And if it has one semicircle, then those two are across from each other. They're congruent. If it has two, it's the same thing. It's just showing that these are congruent. And we put two because we already put one. Okay. Same situation down here, vertical angles. So we know these two are across from each other. We know that they're congruent. And then we can say the same thing about these two because they're across from each other. They're congruent. Now, what's interesting about this is, now relating the angles to each other. We looked at them individually. Now, let's see if there's relationships between the two. All right, so I paused the video for a second there and I got rid of some of our markings. And now I want to start talking about the angles. Now we know that A and D are congruent. Oops. Angle A is equal to angle D. And we know that angle B is equal to angle C. And we know down here, angle E is equal to angle H, and angle G is equal to angle F. And we know this because of vertical angles. Now, what I want to say is, what other angles can I say are congruent? Well, or equal. And if you look, and I think if we had a compass and we just wanted to measure the degrees, it looks like to me that F, this angle, and B, this angle, are congruent. They look like they're the exact same. And in fact, they are. This is an angle relationship called corresponding angles. So B is equal to F. And corresponding angles are angles. Let me draw a circle around these two. And if you think about these as circles individually, then, angle B is in like the upper right of the top circle, and angle F is in the upper right of the bottom circle. So these are in the same position in each circle. And angles in the same position on the same side of the transversal are called corresponding angles. So they're on the same side of the transversal in the same position. Well, what are some other corresponding angles? Well, how about angle H and angle D? How about angle G and angle C? And how about angle E and angle A? Okay, so these are all my corresponding angles. Same position, same side of the transversal.